Let's face it, bleed is absolutely broken in Elden Ring, and you would have thought they were going to make it weaker in the DLC or somehow nerf it. Wrong. They made it even stronger, and there are quite some items in the DLC that specifically made bleed stronger than ever. First, how did bleed get boosted? And then 3 different bleed builds to rampage through the DLC. The most obvious damage boost they pulled off is Rakshasa's armor. That is just a 2% damage increase per item piece, which gives us 6% bonus damage to our bleeding skills, general hit, bleed explosions. It just increases the damage overall. And the next 2 things are actually way too incredible in combination, because that is in the Wondrous Physique, the blood-sucking crack tier, enhances attack at the cost of HP in mixed physique, and this is 20% multiplicative with the other bonuses. So if you have the Golden Vow for the 20, and this for the 20, and the Flamscran Strength for the 15, well, hello there. Now, we would be losing HP, and that kind of stinks. Don't worry, that HP loss doesn't matter, because we get the Ash of War Blood Tax. This is from the main game right in Morgwyn's Palace before the DLC, and it's a triple thrust forward, bob, 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 that works incredibly well with every bleeding weapon. But the most important part is flurry of thrusts that rob the target of both their blood and their HP, which has the crack tier drain our HP and us restore at the same time. Now, I talked about a second thing, and that is just the plethora of bleed weapons we have been getting, and it's way too many and way too good. Not only is there a sword lance that essentially has 166 blood buildup, still B tier strength scaling, and just attacks the fastest, thrusting forward with incredible range, and then, well, the triple stab blood tax. Oh, no. They added also a twin blade, which has 139 blood buildup as well, and most bosses are at 339 until they bleed, which does holy damage, physical, dex scaling, quad scaling in general, and just slice and dices away, especially with the brand new Ironjar aromatic, which actually makes you unstoppable. So this turns your body into iron and gives you super hyper armor, and therefore no boss can stop you from spamming your Ashes of War with the new bleed weapons. Now, you might remember the White Mask from the main game, which gives you a bonus attack speed when bleed happens in the vicinity, and the Lord's Blood Exaltation as well. There's another consumable that boosts that even more, and that is the Sacred Bloody Flesh. Temporarily boosts physical attack power in Arcane. When a blood loss occurs nearby, further boosts attack power. Now, this is going to compete with Flames Grant Me Strength, so you can't actually use that spell anymore if you use the Sacred Flesh. That being said, the Sacred Flesh boost is just way bigger than what is being offered by Flames Grant Me Strength. Golden Vow still works together with this, multiplicative. The only tiny issue with the Bloody Flesh is you can't actually craft it. You have to farm it, and here I usually recommend just teleporting to the Stone Coffin Fissure, because there's simple 2 of the Blood Fiends back to back, and these are the best opponents to actually drop them. You have Dave number 1, just run up to him, and you can just really easy kill him. And then you can just straight up jump to Dave number 2 already and kill him as well. And if you would like to go on, you can, after killing Dave number 2, just yeet yourself off the cliff. And then there's another 1, 2, 3, 4, and more. So straight up like 10 of these to kill for the potential Sacred Flash if you're lacking. Now, the final super boost would be a brand new armor set that you get at the end of the DLC, as you're going to be killing all the NPCs and you're going to be fighting against Ansbach, Leda, and the gang. And that gives you Ansbach's attire, slightly enhances Blood Oath and Dynastic skills, which would then actually boost the blood tax that we mentioned, or your blood blade and bloody slash that you can put on. The mask would even give a 6% boost in total, where every other armor piece is 3%. The problem here being is that it really only boosts the weapon skill. So if you're going to be poking with a weapon or slice and dicing away, it doesn't actually boost that, so the Blood Black Steel Twin Blade wouldn't profit from it as you're light attacking away. That's where the Rakshasa's armor comes back in again, and the normal White Mask of Var. The biggest problem is that this says enhances Blood Oath and Dynastic skills, right? Which kind of makes you think it should work with Morgwyn's Sacred Spear, the dude, the Blood Oather, the Blood God. No, it doesn't. That being said, Morgwyn's Sacred Spear, with a triple bleeding fiery shebang he can do, is probably one of the easiest weapons to clear the DLC with, because yes, this gets boosted by all we mentioned before but the armor. Finally, the last item, and then we're going into builds. And that would be the Bloodfiends Arm, which is an armament that on heavy attacks spreads blood. You're slamming it into the ground and it essentially does bonus bleed, which makes it not only one of the most fun bleed weapons to use. With the right Ash of War, you have an insane strength or arcane scaling. That means you could just push arcane to Mars and do tons of damage. The first one is going to be the Trusty Thruster, with the Blood Sword Lance and the Blood Tax Ash of War going away for that triple stab. That essentially heals us with every stab. That gives us the White Mask of Var. We're going to put on a standard finger seal because we do have 25 faith. As the armor, it's going to be Rakshasa, but if you do have it, for this build, you can put in Ansbos attire as we're solely spamming away the blood tax. We're not doing anything else. We're just whooping that out. Now again, that's a 3% damage increase versus Rakshasa's being a 2% damage increase per piece. Not much of a difference. For talismans, we're rocking the Shard of Alexander for the boost of attack power for skills. Then the repeating thrust are 3 attacks in a row, but sadly, Rotted Sword Insignia doesn't do what you would like it to do. So we're rather going to be looking for the Lord's Blood Exaltation, together with the Dragon Crest Great Shield Talisman reducing damage taken. And then last but not least, my favorite one for this build, it is the Godskin Swaddling Cloth. This one restores HP on successive attacks, and in this case, it is actually successive attacks, so every attack does count. Every single attack restores bonus HP on top of the HP that you're actually restoring with the bloody tax, making sure that you really never run out of. Since in the Wanderer's Physique, we're going to be using the Blood-Sucking Crack tier, and that actually gets followed up with the Viridian Hidden tier, which eliminates all stamina consumption. And there's a simple reason for this. We will turn ourselves impenetrable or unmovable with the Ironjar Aromatic, which has us essentially not be able to get staggered. And this allows us to just spam away the Ash of War. Lastly, the most incredible thing is adding the Great Rune, Melania's Great Rune, which attacks recover HP after damage is taken. Now let me show you a Mesmer fight. Step number 1 is Golden Vow. Then we're going to restore our mana, two-hand the weapon, drink our flask, activate the rune, select the Ironjar Aromatic, drink that as we enter into Mesmer because the duration is only 4 to 5 seconds, which allows us to 1 roll, 2 roll, and then we're just simply stabbing away. And it's not like he can do anything to stop us. We're going to drink our mana so we can keep stabbing away. Roll once, twice, and then continue the whole package. Ignore anything he does to you, because that's what we have our Ironjar Aromatic for. And we didn't have to take a single health potion because we have been just blasting away. And before you ask, yes, this does work against Radahn too. One thing I have to say I kind of forget to take in that fight was the Sacred Bloody Flash, which makes it even stronger. Now, if you don't have the Blood Sword Lance to do this yet, an alternative is actually the Great Katana, which can be picked up in the first 5 minutes of the DLC. Right from the Graveside Plain side of Grace, you're riding upwards, past the 3-pass cross, into this lake. And there's just the Katana, blood tax from Markwind's Palace. Boom, you can play the build already. Until you kill Commander Gaius for the Sword Lance. Stats we're looking for is 50 in Vigor, 15 in Mind, 20 Endurance, 41 in Strength, and then 25 in Faith. That 25 in Faith could down to your base value and put the rest in Strength if you're using a dagger with the Vow on instead of casting it, but else Golden Vow needs 25 Faith, and then 16 Arcane to have your blood trigger as high as possible. And now the fun part, we'll keep this setup, but instead of Ansbos attire, we'll swap over to the Rakshasa armor, still Godskin Swaddling Claws with a Great Shield Talisman and the Lord's Blood Exaltation, but Shard of Alexander is now going out for the Rotted Sword Insignia, which raises your attack power on successive attacks, and we're replacing the Blood Sword Lance through the Blood Black Steel Twin Blade. And you get 2 choices with this weapon. You can either play Seppuku for more damage, or we're going to be using the Endure Ash of War towards a blood build. With the Endure Ash of War, we're going for Endure, and then we can put off our combo without ever being stopped, which essentially has us restore HP on every successive attack. We endure and can't be essentially staggered out of anything because it gives us super poise, while we're stacking successive attacks for bleed after bleed after bleed. And in this case, you can still take the Bloodsucking Crack tier, and instead of the Viridian Hidden tier, we could add the Thorny Crack tier for the super damage boost in a row. But since we're going to endure spam, endure spam, endure spam, I kind of often feel that the Viridian Hidden tier in the beginning is just better to give me that really big leap start. For stats, we get Vigor and 50, Mind 15, Endurance 20, this time 18 Strength, and then 54 Dex, 7 Int, 25 Faith, and 40 Arcane. The 25 Faith, again, could be lower for even more Dexterity if you don't want to cast Golden Vow. Start with Golden Vow, Melania's Great Rune active again, eat the Sacred Flash, fill up our mana, drink our flask, making our way downtown, two-handing the weapon. He jumps, we activate Endure already. 1, 2, Endure on again, and then we're just spam away with our left click. He's gonna jump into us. Endure on again. First fight over. Heal. 1, 2. Endure on again. Then endure on again. As the last thing he can't get us. And then, well, that's, yeah, done. You might have noticed how the Sacred Flash allowed us to do even more damage than ever. And now the third, but not the least one, and that is going to be with the Bloodfiends Arm, as it is such a fun weapon to use. And you have multiple Ash of War options here. First up, the Bloodfiends Arm can easily be found in the Prospect Town from the Cliff Road Terminus side of Grace, and as you enter the DLC, you essentially just ride to 3 Pass Cross over there, pick it up from the pack of mobs on the top of the town. Done. Like 5 minutes into the DLC, got the arm again. GG. This one can be played with a brand new Savage Lion Claw Ash of War. You remember the Lion Claw, 1 overhead swing. Well, Savage Lion Claw is 2 overhead swings in a row, and you're hyper armored in there, can't be thrown out of it as you're going on, which you can put over to Blood for the CCC tier scaling. And you might notice this already has 172 blood loss buildup, but we're not even Arcane maxed out yet, because we're currently sitting still at the 40 Arcane from the last build. An alternative here would be the Royal Knight's Resolve. You hold your blade in front of your face, you get an 80% damage boost for heavy attacks, super vast slammers, which essentially utilizes the unique bleed burst that the arm has. Problem is, you have to get the heavy attacks off. Now, the Savage Lion Claw is my favorite because it's a triple hit. So you go for 1 hit, and then the next swing is 1 hit, 2 hit. So you essentially have 3 instances of bleed slamming into your opponent. Now, this is successive attacks, but the Rotted Sword insignia doesn't count. And the Godskin Swaddling Claws, I mean, the heal would probably help. But in this case, I'm mostly returning back to our Shard of Alexander because we're using a weapon skill again. And you could think about adding the Two-Handed Sword Talisman, which increases the damage of two-handed weapons, not of skills though, that's the thing. So only if you're doing the heavy attacks, that would help there. So it might be probably best to simply play the Godskin Swaddling Claws here too, to get our life sucking back, as we're also playing Melania's Great Rune. Now, the Rakshasa's armor seems to be the smartest thing to do, because Anspa's set would only boost Blood Oath skills, and the Savage Lion Claw isn't a Blood Oath skill, it's a red main skill. Interesting thing though. First, the Savage Lion Claw is again at the beginning, 3 Pass Cross, and then just right there on a body it lies. So Bloodfiend's Arm and Savage Lion Claw, 5 minutes and you have it. There's another weapon from the Freya quest line that you will get at the end of the game, roughly before Radahn. Don't worry, for your NG+, it's going to be fantastic. That is Freya's Greatsword, and this Greatsword boosts the power of Redmane battle skills. So if you're essentially having this on your back, which, well, does make me overloaded here, it would boost the attack of the weapon even further, making me go crazy. Now, obviously, it would be overloaded and that kind of sucks, so we would have to play the Ironjar Aromatic. So we're going to do this now without the Freya Sword, but if you're level 200, 250, and you can essentially boost your endurance further than ever, it is a real option towards the end game for the NG plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, not for the PvPers. With the Wondrous Physique, you can use the Blood-Sucking Crack tier again, and also the Viridian Hidden tier that we can, again, spam away our abilities in combination with each other, because it's just soaking a lot of stamina to essentially go for the Savage Lion Claw. And yes, the Sacred Bloody Flash boosts this as well, as we're having 202 blood loss build up, considering that most bosses, again, 339, 398, we're down later having 700 base, a bit more. Still, fantastic workings. Stat-wise, it's looking a bit different. 50 Vigor, 15 Mind, 20 Endurance, Strength to 30. Yes, it's a C-tier strength scaling, but it scales with Arcane so well, so we can boost that all the way to 71 with 25 Faith. And yes, if I could bring my Arcane to 99 on level 150, I would, because this weapon is just soaking all up from Arcane, and you could get the blood loss build-up even higher. For the last boss, I like to take Mother Mature because she's my favorite one to actually find. We're going for Golden Vow. Eat our Rune Arc for Melanius to be active. Then get our mana up. Sacred Flash. We're not going to pop the flask yet because we need to get a bit closer, as the stamina effect in the beginning is not so long. So get it now. She hits us with her what first? Ow. And then we're just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Can absolutely overwhelm her. Because again, you can be hit inside the action, but you can't be staggered out of the action. There's a fourth build that I actually didn't mention, and that is the Thorns Bleed build, which is absolutely incredible. I'll give it a link here, but do tell me in the comments below which one you're going to try out. Thank you for staying with me, watching, and being here so long. Have a great day.